The stars above Earth had always been silent. For thousands of years, humans looked up and wondered if they were alone. On the morning of March 15, 2247, they got their answer. The Zetherian ships appeared without warning. They materialized in Earth's orbit like dark clouds blocking out the sun. There were hundreds of them, each one larger than the biggest human city. Their hulls were black metal that seemed to drink in the light. They hung there in space, silent and terrible, casting shadows across entire continents. The first attack came at dawn. Beams of purple energy lanced down from the sky and touched the cities below. New York vanished in a pillar of fire. Tokyo burned. Mumbai's towers collapsed like children's toys. London's ancient streets turned to glass under the heat. In 6 hours, 20 major cities were gone. 200 million people died before lunch. The aliens broadcast their message in every language on Earth. The transmission interrupted every screen, every radio, every device humans owned. The voice was cold and mechanical, translated by machines that had learned human speech from intercepted broadcasts. Humans of Earth, you are now property of the Zetherian collective. Your weapons are primitive. Your nations are divided. Your resistance is impossible. You have 48 hours to surrender your governments and accept processing. Those who comply will be given work assignments. Those who resist will be eliminated. This is your only warning. The transmission ended. The world held its breath. In the Zetherian command ship, Supreme Commander Valth stood before his tactical display. His scales were deep green, marked with the scars of 40 campaigns across the galaxy. He had conquered 47 species in his long career. He had burned worlds and broken empires. Humans, he decided, would take less than a week. Status of the prey world? He asked his subordinate. Their military forces are mobilizing, Commander, but the patterns are chaotic. Each nation operates independently. They have no unified command structure. Some are even communicating threats to each other during the crisis. Valth's throat sac inflated with satisfaction. Predictable. Divided prey falls quickly. Continue monitoring. Prepare ground forces for occupation once they surrender. Commander, the surrender deadline is in 48 hours. Should we prepare bombardment in case they refuse? Valth waved a clawed hand dismissively. They will surrender. They always do. Look at their broadcasts. They are panicking, fighting among themselves about what to do. By tomorrow, their leaders will be begging us for terms. But something was happening on Earth that Valth did not understand. Something the Zetherians had never encountered in their long history of conquest. In Geneva, the emergency session of world leaders gathered in a bunker deep underground. The room was filled with presidents, prime ministers, generals, and chancellors. Many of these people had been enemies just yesterday. Their nations had fought wars against each other. They had disputed borders and resources and old hatreds that went back centuries. The American president spoke first. We have 42 hours until their deadline. Our military estimates are clear. We cannot win a conventional war against technology this advanced. Each of their capital ships could level our entire fleet. The Chinese premier nodded slowly. Our analysis agrees. If we fight separately, we die separately. They will destroy us one nation at a time. So we surrender. The Russian president's voice was hard. We bow to these creatures? Silence fell over the room. Outside, the world was burning. Outside, their people were dying. Outside, an enemy from the stars demanded submission. The Brazilian president stood up. She was a small woman with gray hair and eyes like stone. My grandmother told me stories about the old wars, about what happens when you give evil men what they want. They always want more. If we surrender, they will not show mercy. They will do whatever they came here to do. But if we fight, we die, the American president said quietly. If we fight, the Brazilian president continued, we die free, and maybe we take some of them with us. Maybe we hurt them badly enough that they think twice before doing this to another world. The Indian Prime Minister spoke up. Our analysts have been studying their attack patterns. They are efficient, but they follow rigid doctrine. They expect us to collapse. They have never fought an enemy that refused to break. The German Chancellor leaned forward. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting we do not answer their surrender demand at all. I am suggesting we mobilize every military on this planet. I am suggesting we share every weapon, every technology, every secret we have been keeping from each other. I am suggesting we make them regret they ever came to Earth. The room erupted in discussion. Arguments flew back and forth. But as the hours passed, something remarkable happened. Old enemies began working together. Intelligence services that had spied on each other for generations started sharing data. Military commands that had planned for war against each other began coordinating defense strategies. The deadline came and went. The Zetherians received no surrender. Instead, they received silence. Commander Valth stared at his display in confusion. What is the meaning of this? Why have they not responded? Unknown, Commander. But we are detecting unusual activity across their planet. Military forces are repositioning. Their communications networks are operating at maximum capacity. Show me. The display changed. Valth saw something that made his scales prickle with unease. Human military forces were not retreating to defensive positions. They were not evacuating their cities. They were advancing toward the landing sites, toward the Zetherian ground forces. They are attacking. Valth could not keep the surprise from his voice. With their primitive weapons? This is suicide. Commander, we are also intercepting strange communications. The humans keep referencing historical events. Pearl Harbor, 9/11, the Blitz. We do not have context for these references. Valth waved this away. It does not matter. If they want to die quickly, we will accommodate them. Order all ground forces to engage. Show them the price of resistance. The first ground battles began at dusk. Zetherian warriors descended in drop pods, their armor gleaming, their weapons charged. They had fought 100 species. They had never lost a ground engagement. The humans met them with everything they had. Tanks rolled forward, their primitive chemical cannons firing. Attack helicopters swooped low, launching missiles. Infantry squads dug into positions and refused to retreat even as Zetherian energy weapons cut them down. The Zetherians won every engagement. But they won slowly, and they paid in blood for every meter of ground. In one city, a human squad held a bridge for 6 hours against a full Zetherian company. When the aliens finally crossed, they found all the human soldiers dead at their posts. Not one had retreated. In another battle, human pilots flew their damaged aircraft directly into Zetherian walkers when their ammunition ran out. The explosions destroyed millions in alien equipment. By midnight, Commander Valth stood before his tactical display and tried to understand what he was seeing. His forces were winning, but the humans were not breaking. They were not surrendering. They were fighting harder. A communication came from one of his ground commanders. The voice was shaken. Supreme Commander requesting immediate reinforcement. These creatures are insane. They do not retreat. They do not surrender. They are using tactics that make no tactical sense. They sacrifice entire units to slow our advance by minutes. We need more forces. Valth's claws gripped the edge of his console. In 40 campaigns, he had never received such a request on the first day of ground operations. He looked at Earth rotating slowly on his display. Fires burned across its surface. His ships controlled the orbital space. His forces were winning on the ground. But something was wrong. Something he did not understand. The humans had gotten angry, and Valth was beginning to realize that might be a problem. 3 months had passed since the invasion began. Commander Valth stared at the casualty reports and felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. The Zetherian collective controlled 15% of Earth's surface. 15%. After 90 days of continuous combat. On any other world, they would have achieved total conquest in less than a week. But Earth was not like other worlds. The humans had stopped retreating. They fought for every building, every street, every room. Zetherian forces would clear a city block, move forward, and find human soldiers had infiltrated back behind them. The prey was supposed to run. These creatures hunted. Valth reviewed the latest report from Ground Commander Threx. The words made his scales itch with discomfort. Supreme Commander, we have secured the designated urban zone, but at 30% casualties. The humans employed new tactics. They collapsed 3 buildings on our advance column. They had rigged the structures with explosives days in advance. They sacrificed their own infrastructure to kill our warriors. Additionally, we captured a human supply depot, only to discover it had been stripped of anything useful. The remaining supplies were poisoned. 200 of our troops are sick. These creatures fight without honor. They fight without logic. Request permission to implement total extermination protocols. Valth read the request 3 times. Total extermination meant killing everything. No slaves, no resources, just burning the world clean. The collective had only ordered such measures twice in 500 years. Both times had been for species that fought with biological weapons or rendered their worlds uninhabitable. But Earth still had value. Its resources were abundant. Its location was strategically useful. And Valth was too proud to admit to the High Command that he needed to destroy a world to defeat primitive prey. He denied the request. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, the unified human command was planning their next move. General Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force stood before a holographic display showing the current battle lines. Around her were commanders from every major nation, all wearing the same simple gray uniform with the new Earth symbol on their shoulders. Intelligence reports the Zetherians are adapting to our urban warfare tactics, she said. They are bringing in heavier weapons, more careful advances. They learn quickly. So do we, said Colonel Dmitry Volkov. He pulled up a new display. Our science teams have finished analyzing the Zetherian equipment we captured in Mumbai. We understand how their energy weapons work. We can build countermeasures, General Park from Korea spoke up. How long until we can manufacture these countermeasures? 2 weeks for prototypes. 4 weeks for mass production. Chen nodded. 4 weeks. We need to buy that time. What else do we have? A young lieutenant raised his hand nervously. General, the civilian resistance networks are reporting success with guerrilla operations. In occupied territories, human fighters are using pre-war supply caches to conduct raids. The aliens do not seem to understand asymmetric warfare. They expect soldiers in uniforms. They do not expect grandmothers with homemade explosives. Someone in the back of the room laughed. It was a harsh sound, but it was laughter. They had not forgotten how. What about the orbital situation? Chen asked. Admiral Jackson brought up the space display. Not good. They still control orbit completely. Our satellites are gone. Any aircraft we put up gets shot down within minutes. We cannot challenge their fleet with what we have. What we have right now, Chen said quietly. But we are working on that too. She pulled up classified files. Images of construction sites appeared. The Gibraltar shipyards built in tunnels beneath the rock. The Sahara assembly fields hidden under camouflage netting and sand. The Pacific construction platforms disguised as floating debris fields. We have been building in secret for 2 months. The Zetherians bombarded our obvious military bases. They destroyed our visible shipyards and factories. But they think like conquerors. They expect us to have one central command, one main base, one critical target. They do not understand that we built our entire industrial civilization on redundancy and competition. She zoomed in on the Gibraltar facility. In 4 weeks, the first Earth warship will launch. It will be crude. It will use half-stolen Zetherian technology and half-human engineering. It will probably explode if we push it too hard. But it will fly. And it will fight. One ship against their hundreds? Volkov asked. Chen smiled. It was not a nice smile. 1 ship this month. 10 ships next month. 50 ships the month after. We have 6 billion people on this planet, Colonel. 3 billion of them are working in some capacity to support the war effort. We have converted car factories into weapon plants. We have farmers producing food 24 hours a day. We have children assembling components. We have scientists who have not slept in weeks. The Zetherians think they are fighting Earth's military. They are wrong. They are fighting all of us. She switched the display back to the current battle map. In the meantime, we keep making them bleed. Every ship they lose cannot be replaced quickly. Their supply lines stretch across light years. Ours stretch across continents. Every day we survive is a day we get stronger and they get weaker. We make them pay for every meter of ground. We make them wish they never heard of Earth. The room was silent for a moment. Then Admiral Jackson spoke. General, I have to ask, even if we build a fleet, even if we take back our world, what then? They know where we are now. They will come back with more ships. Bigger fleets. We cannot hide anymore, Chen nodded slowly. You are right, Admiral. Which is why we are not going to hide. We captured a Zetherian navigation database 3 weeks ago. We have been decrypting it. We now have coordinates for every Zetherian garrison, supply depot, and occupied world within 50 light years. The room erupted. Voices rose in shock and excitement. Chen waited for them to quiet down. The Zetherians made a mistake when they came here. They showed us we are not alone. They showed us there are other species out there, suffering under collective rule. They gave us access to faster-than-light travel. They united our world against a common enemy. And most importantly, they made us angry. Very angry. She pointed at the map of Zetherian space. We are not just going to take back Earth. We are going to take the fight to them. We are going to liberate every world they have conquered. We are going to teach the galaxy what happens when you attack humanity. Volkov stood up slowly. General, with respect, that is insane. We are one world. They are an empire. They were an empire, Chen corrected. But empires are fragile things. They depend on fear and overwhelming force. They expect their subjects to stay beaten, but we have proven that determined resistance works. Once we show the other conquered species that the Zytherians can be hurt, can be beaten, the whole rotten structure will start to collapse. She looked around the room at the tired faces of Earth's defenders. I know what I am asking. I know how impossible it sounds. 3 months ago, we were fighting among ourselves. Today, we are united. 3 months ago, we had never fought aliens. Today, we are winning battles against them. 3 months ago, we could not reach orbit. Soon we will have starships. If we can do all of that in 90 days, what can we do in a year? In 10 years? General Park stood, then Admiral Jackson, then Colonel Volkov. One by one, every commander in the room rose to their feet. Chen saluted them. Dismissed. Get back to your commands. Make the enemy regret every second they stay on our world. As the commanders filed out, Chen looked at the orbital display one more time. The Zytherian ships hung there like dark stars. Soon, she thought, soon they would learn what humanity looked like when it truly went to war. In orbit, Commander Valth reviewed his supply reports and felt his unease growing. His fleet had enough ammunition for 6 more months of intensive combat. Fuel for 8 months. Food for a year. All of that assumed they could maintain their supply lines back to collective space. But there was a new problem. Human forces had captured several of his scouts. Not just destroyed them, captured them. With crews inside. The collective executed failures so those crews would never talk. But the ships themselves, the technology, the computers full of data, all of that was now in human hands. For the first time in his career, Valth sent a message to the High Command admitting uncertainty. Supreme Command, Ground Commander Valth reporting. Earth conquest proceeding slower than projected. Human resistance remains organized and effective. Casualties within acceptable parameters but rising. Request additional fleet support and ground forces. These prey are not behaving as expected. The response came back 6 hours later. It was not what he hoped. Request denied. Fleet resources committed to other sectors. Complete conquest with available forces. Failure is not acceptable. Valth looked at the message for a long time. Then he looked at Earth, that blue and white sphere below him, and wondered if perhaps the collective had made a terrible mistake. 6 months after the invasion began, something impossible happened. A human ship reached orbit under its own power. The vessel was not beautiful. It looked like someone had welded 3 different spacecraft together and hoped for the best. Parts of its hull were human steel. Other sections were Zytherian armor plating, still showing scorch marks from the battle where they were captured. Its engines glowed with unstable blue light, a hybrid of human fusion technology and alien propulsion systems that probably violated several laws of physics. The ship had no name yet. The crew just called it First. It carried 80 crew members, most of whom were engineers rather than soldiers. Its weapons were untested. Its shields flickered randomly. Its life support made worrying noises. It was the most beautiful thing humanity had ever built. Commander Valth watched the primitive vessel climb toward his fleet and felt something close to respect. The humans had gone from ground-bound prey to void-capable in half a year. It had taken the Zytherians 3 generations to achieve the same progress. These creatures learned frighteningly fast. Should we destroy it, Commander? His weapons officer asked. Valth considered. The human ship was no threat. A single shot from any of his capital ships would vaporize it, but destroying it would serve no purpose except to prove he could. No, he decided. Let them have their moment. It changes nothing. They have 1 ship. We have 800. What Valth did not know was that First carried no weapons at all. It was not there to fight. It was there to learn. Inside the cramped bridge, Captain Maria Santos gripped her command chair as the ship shuddered through another power fluctuation. Engineering tell me we are not going to explode. Probably not, Captain, came the reply. 70% certain. I have led men into battle with worse odds. Navigation, take us on a pass through the Zytherian formation. I want scans of everything. They could shoot us down. They could have shot us down 3 minutes ago. For some reason, they are letting us fly. So let us make it worth the risk. The first moved through space on stuttering engines, its sensors drinking in every detail of the alien fleet. Ship classifications, weapons arrays, shield frequencies, communication channels, everything. The data streamed down to Earth, to the thousands of engineers and scientists waiting to devour every byte of information. After 10 minutes, Santos gave the order to return to Earth. The first limped back down through the atmosphere, its hull glowing red with heat, and landed in the Australian desert. It would never fly again. 3 of its engines had burned out and the frame had stress fractures throughout, but it had done its job. Humanity now understood the Zetherian fleet better than Valth understood it himself. 2 weeks later, the Zetherians learned what a mistake it was to let that first ship fly. A second human vessel reached orbit, then a third, then 5 more. They were still crude, still obviously cobbled together from stolen technology and desperate innovation. But there were more of them every day, and they were not staying in orbit anymore. The first human raid on a Zetherian supply ship happened at night. 3 small human craft, barely larger than shuttles, attacked a collective freighter that was delivering ammunition to the fleet. They did not destroy it. They boarded it. Zetherian ships were not designed for internal defense. The collective had ruled the void for so long that they forgot enemies could board during battle. Their security consisted of a few guards at critical points. It was not enough. Human soldiers in stolen void suits breached the hull in 4 places simultaneously. They moved through the corridors like shadows, using tactics learned from hundreds of years of human conflict. Room clearing, hallway ambushes, coordinated fire teams, all the ugly lessons of human warfare brought into space. The supply ship's crew died in minutes. The humans took control of the vessel, turned it around, and flew it down to Earth. 2,000 tons of Zetherian ammunition, fuel, and spare parts delivered directly to human hands. Commander Valth nearly crushed his command console when he received the report. "How?" he roared. "How did ground prey learn void combat in 6 months?" His tactical officer spoke carefully. "Commander, analysis suggests the humans have extensive experience with boarding actions. Their historical records show thousands of naval battles involving ship-to-ship combat. They simply adapted those tactics to space. They have been in space for 6 months." "Yes, Commander, but they have been fighting each other for thousands of years. They have more practical combat experience than any species we have encountered." Valth forced himself to calm down. Losing his temper would not help. He needed to think. Increase security on all supply ships. Double the guard patrols. Any human craft that approaches is to be destroyed immediately. "Yes, Commander. Though I should note that our supply situation is becoming concerning. We have been in orbit for 6 months. Our reserves are at 60%. If the humans continue to raid our supply lines, then we will increase the ground offensive and take their industrial centers. Prepare all ground forces for a major push. We will crush their production capabilities and end this farce." But humanity had learned another lesson from 6 months of warfare. Never put all your production in one place. When the Zetherian ground forces launched their major offensive, they struck at the known human industrial centers. They bombed the cities where satellites had spotted factory activity. They sent their best troops to seize the obvious targets. They found abandoned buildings and empty warehouses. The factories had moved weeks ago, dispersed into thousands of smaller facilities hidden across the planet. Basement workshops, mountain caverns, underwater construction bays. The humans had watched the Zetherians orbit overhead and built where the aliens could not see. The offensive failed. Worse, it stretched the Zetherian forces thin and the humans counterattacked everywhere at once. In South America, human forces retook an entire occupied city. In Asia, guerrilla fighters destroyed a major Zetherian supply depot. In Europe, a human armored division defeated a collective mechanized unit in open battle for the first time. The Zetherians were losing. Not quickly, not obviously. But every day the percentage of Earth under their control shrank slightly. Every day more human ships reached orbit. Every day the humans got stronger and the Zetherians got weaker. In his command ship, Valth stood before his holographic display and faced the truth. He had failed. In 6 months he had gone from confident conqueror to desperate defender. His fleet was running low on supplies. His ground forces were exhausted and demoralized. And the prey was hunting him. He drafted a message to High Command. It was the hardest thing he had ever written. Supreme Command Ground Commander Valth reporting. Earth conquest has failed. Human resistance has not collapsed. Recommend immediate withdrawal and full fleet sterilization of the planet. If we do not destroy this world completely, the humans will become a threat to the entire collective. They learn too fast. They adapt too quickly. They do not surrender. Request permission to implement final protocols. The response took 8 hours to arrive. When it came, Valth read it 3 times to make sure he understood. Request denied. Earth conquest must succeed. The collective cannot show weakness by retreating from a primitive world. Additional forces are being dispatched. Hold your position. Reinforcements will arrive in 4 weeks. Valth looked at the message and felt despair. 4 weeks. He had to hold for 4 more weeks against an enemy that grew stronger every day. And then even with reinforcements, would it be enough? How many ships would the collective have to commit to defeat one stubborn world? What Valth did not know was that human intelligence had cracked the Zetherian communications encryption. They had read his message. They had read the response. They knew reinforcements were coming. They knew they had 4 weeks to prepare. In the bunker beneath the Rockies, General Chen read the intercepted messages and smiled. Good, she said quietly. Let them come. Let them bring their reinforcements. Let them commit more ships to this battle. General? Colonel Volkov looked confused. More enemies is good? More enemies in one place is very good, Colonel. Because we have been working on something special, and I think it is ready for testing. She pulled up a classified file. On the screen appeared an image of a ship. Not a crude hybrid like first, this was sleek, purposeful, deadly. It looked like a weapon that happened to fly. The Retribution-class strike cruiser, Chen explained. 100% human design. We stopped trying to copy the Zetherians and started building to our strengths. Fast, maneuverable, heavily armed, and most importantly, we can build them. The first squadron launches in 3 days. By the time their reinforcements arrive, we will have 20 of them. 20 ships against thousands, Volkov said. No, Chen corrected. 20 ships plus everything else we have been building. Plus every trap we have been setting. Plus 6 months of anger looking for a target. She looked at the star map showing Earth and the surrounding space. They wanted to conquer us. Instead, they gave us the stars. They wanted to break us. Instead, they united us. They wanted to make us slaves. Instead, they taught us how to fight in space. And now they are bringing us more targets. She turned to her command staff. Send orders to all commands. Prepare for the largest space battle in human history. The coordinates led to a world called Kelrath. It orbited a red star 40 light-years from Earth. According to the stolen Zetherian database, Kelrath had been under collective control for 60 years. Its native species, the Kelrathi, were insectoid beings who had surrendered after a brief resistance. They now worked in mines and factories producing materials for the collective. The Zetherian garrison consisted of 20 warships and a ground force of 5,000 warriors. It should have been more than enough to control one broken species on one minor world. Then the humans arrived. The human task force dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kelrath system. 5 Retribution-class cruisers, 3 converted freighters full of Marines, and 2 support ships. It was not an impressive force by collective standards. The garrison commander, a young officer named Thras, sneered when his sensors detected them. Unknown vessels, this is Zetherian collective space. You are in violation of collective territory. Identify yourselves or be destroyed. The response came in clear collective standard. The voice was human, female, and absolutely calm. This is Captain Maria Santos of the United Earth Space Force. We are here to liberate Kelrath. You have 2 options. Surrender, and you will be treated as prisoners of war. Resist, and you will be destroyed. You have 5 minutes to decide. Thras's throat sac inflated with amusement. You are humans. You are the primitives from Earth. How did you even acquire void travel? No matter. You are far from your home world, small creatures. You will die here and no one will know. 4 minutes, Santos replied. Thras cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. Destroy them. All ships, open fire. The Zetherian garrison fleet advanced in perfect formation. Their ships were larger, better armed, and crewed by warriors who had trained for decades. The humans had been in space for less than a year. It should have been a massacre, it was. Just not the massacre Thras expected. The human ships did not fight like Zetherian vessels. They did not maintain formation. They did not exchange fire at optimal range. They scattered like insects, each ship moving on its own chaotic path. Their acceleration was insane, pushing G-forces that should have killed their crews. They jinked and spun and dove, making themselves nearly impossible to hit. And then they got close. Zetherian doctrine called for engaging at long range, using superior firepower to destroy enemies before they could threaten capital ships. But the humans did not follow doctrine. They closed to knife-fighting range and unleashed everything they had. Human weapons were crude but effective. Railguns that fired solid metal slugs at relativistic speeds, missiles that swarmed like angry hornets. Energy weapons cobbled together from stolen Zetherian technology and human innovation. The Retribution-class cruisers were smaller than collective warships, but they were faster, more maneuverable, and their captains fought with a ferocity that shocked the garrison defenders. The battle lasted 18 minutes. When it was over, 15 Zetherian ships were destroyed. 3 more were crippled and drifting. The remaining 2 attempted to flee the system. Human Marines boarded one of them. The other managed to jump to faster-than-light speed, limping back toward collective space with tales of human aggression. Captain Santos stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the debris field spin past. Her vessel had taken damage. Hull breaches in 3 places. 1 engine was offline. 6 crew members were dead and 20 more injured. But they had won. "Open a channel to Kelrath," she ordered. The transmission reached the planet's surface. In the capital city, the Kelrathi huddled in their homes, waiting to see which conqueror would rule them now. They had learned not to hope. Santos's image appeared on every screen the Zetherians had forced the Kelrathi to install. "People of Kelrath, my name is Maria Santos. I am a human from Earth. 6 months ago, the Zetherian collective invaded my world. They burned our cities. They killed our people. They thought we would surrender. We did not. We fought them. We are still fighting them. And now we are here." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "We are not here to conquer you. We are here to offer you a choice. The Zetherian garrison is destroyed. You are free. What you do with that freedom is up to you. If you want to fight the collective, we will arm you and train you. If you want to hide, we will help you hide. If you want to build defenses, we will help you build them. We are here because we believe every species has the right to be free. We are here because what the collective did to you, they tried to do to us. And we are here because we are very, very angry about that." On Kelrath's surface in the main city, an old Kelrathi named Shess watched the broadcast with his family. He had been young when the Zetherians came. He remembered the brief war. He remembered the surrender. He remembered 60 years of slavery. "Is this real?" his daughter asked. "Are they truly offering to help us?" Shess looked at the image of the human captain. She was small by Zetherian standards. Her species had no scales, no natural weapons. They looked soft, but her eyes were hard as stone. "I think," Shess said slowly, "these humans are more dangerous than they appear. Should we trust them? I do not know. But I know the Zetherians. They will send more ships. They will retake this world and punish us for this. If we're going to die anyway, I would rather die fighting." Across Kelrath, similar conversations were happening. In the mines, Kelrathi workers stopped working. In the factories, production halted. In the streets, crowds gathered. Some were afraid. Some were cautious. But some, the ones who still remembered freedom, felt something they had not felt in 60 years. Hope. The human ships landed in the capital city. Marines disembarked wearing armor and carrying weapons, but they did not seize buildings or demand obedience. Instead, they set up defensive positions and began scanning the sky for collective ships. Captain Santos walked into the city without guards. She found the central square where thousands of Kelrathi had gathered. She climbed onto a platform and looked at the crowd. "I know you do not trust easily," she said. "I know you have been hurt. I know you have learned that conquerors lie. So I will not make grand promises. I will tell you what we are actually going to do." She pointed at the human ships. "Those vessels carry weapons, ammunition, and communications equipment. We will leave them with you. We will also leave behind military advisors who will teach you how to use them. We are going to show you how we fought the Zetherians on Earth. Urban warfare, guerrilla tactics, how to fight when you are outnumbered and outgunned." A Kelrathi in the crowd shouted, "Why? What do you gain from this?" Santos smiled. "Allies. The collective has conquered dozens of worlds. If each of those worlds fights back, the collective will have to split their forces. They cannot be everywhere at once. And every world that resists makes the next liberation easier. We are not strong enough to defeat the collective alone, but together, all of us who have been hurt by them, we can tear them down. Another voice called out, "The collective will return with a large fleet. They will destroy this world." "Maybe," Santos agreed. "Or maybe by the time they can gather a large enough fleet, we will have liberated 3 more worlds. Maybe 4. Maybe 10. Maybe the collective will have too many fires to put out and not enough water." She looked across the crowd. "You have a choice. You can surrender again and hope for mercy. You can hide and hope they do not find you. Or you can fight. If you fight, some of you will die. Maybe all of you. But you will die free, not as slaves. And every Zetherian ship you destroy is one that cannot attack Earth. One that cannot attack the next world we liberate." The crowd was silent. Then Shess pushed his way to the front. The old Kelrathi climbed onto the platform beside Santos. He was twice her size, his carapace scarred with years of labor. "I am Shess," he said to the crowd. "I remember the last war. I remember we surrendered because we thought it would save us. It did not. We lived, but we were not alive. We worked and obeyed and forgot what it meant to be Kelrathi." He turned to Santos. "You humans are small. You look weak. But I watched your ships fight. You do not fight like the Zetherians. You fight like you want to hurt them. Like it is personal." "It is personal," Santos said quietly. "They came to our home. They killed our families. Every human in this fleet lost someone in the invasion. We are not fighting for resources or territory. We are fighting because they made us angry." Shess clicked his mandibles in what might have been a laugh. "Then we have something in common. They made us forget anger. Maybe you can teach us how to remember." He turned back to the crowd. "I am old. I will probably die in the fighting. But I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees. Who will stand with me?" The response started slowly. 1 Kelrathi stepped forward. Then another, then 10, then 100. Then the whole crowd was moving, surging forward, voices raised in anger and determination. Santos watched and felt something unclench in her chest. Earth was not alone. The fight was spreading. Over the next 2 weeks, human advisors trained Kelrathi volunteers. They taught them how to use the weapons, how to build fortifications, how to communicate in combat, how to fight smart instead of honorably. The Kelrathi learned quickly. They had the same talent humans had discovered during Earth's invasion. They learned that anger could be useful, that rage could be focused. The Zetherian reinforcement fleet was massive. 3,000 ships pulled from garrisons across the collective's territory. It represented a full third of their total military strength. The Emperor himself had ordered its assembly. Earth would burn. The human threat would be eliminated. The collective's reputation would be restored. Supreme Commander Valth stood aboard the flagship feeling vindicated. He had held Earth for nearly a year against impossible odds. Now with these reinforcements, victory was assured. The humans would see this armada and despair. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Valth expected to see a desperate world, its orbit controlled by his exhausted garrison, its surface barely holding out. What he saw instead shocked him into silence. Earth's orbit was full of human ships, not the crude hybrids of 6 months ago. These were proper warships, clearly human in design, arrayed in defensive formations that suggested sophistication and training. Valth's tactical computer counted them. 300, 400, 500 human vessels. In 1 year, the humans had built 500 warships. How? Valth whispered. "How is this possible?" His tactical officer's voice was shaken. "Commander, we are also detecting extensive fortifications. The human moon has been converted into a weapons platform. Multiple defense satellites throughout the system. And sir, we are receiving a transmission." "From whom?" "From Earth. From General Sarah Chen, commander of United Earth Defense Force." Valth's claws gripped his command console. "Show me." The screen flickered to life. The human general looked tired. Her hair was grayer than in the intelligence photos from a year ago. But her eyes burned with cold determination. "Commander Valth," she said, "I am General Chen. I am told you requested reinforcements. That was a mistake. You cannot win, human. We have brought 3,000 ships. You have a few hundred primitive craft. Surrender now and some of your people may live." Chen smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Commander, did you really think we spent this year just defending Earth?" Did you think we were sitting still while you called for help? She gestured and the screen split. New images appeared. Images from dozens of worlds. Kelrath, where Kelrathi fighters were attacking Zetherian installations. Mordith, where an aquatic species had risen up and destroyed an orbital garrison. Praxis, where crystalline beings had learned to sabotage collective equipment. World after world, species after species, all in rebellion. We did not spend the year waiting, Commander. We spent it liberating your slave worlds. We spent it teaching oppressed species how to fight. We spent it building a coalition. While you held Earth, we were destroying your empire. Balth stared at the images. Impossible. All impossible. You have been to all these worlds? Not just visited, Commander. We armed them, trained them, showed them that the collective could bleed. Do you know what happens when you build an empire on fear? When the fear breaks, everything collapses. Your garrison worlds are in open revolt. Your supply lines are cut. Your subject species remember what freedom tastes like. And they are all very, very angry. Chen leaned forward. You should have killed us all when you had the chance, Commander. You should have burned Earth to bedrock. But you wanted slaves and resources. You wanted a quick victory. You gave us time, and we used every second of it. The transmission ended. Valth stood frozen, his mind struggling to process what he had just learned. The Empire was collapsing, not from external threat but from internal rebellion. The humans had done the impossible. They had weaponized hope. Commander, his tactical officer said urgently, the human fleet is moving. They are not retreating. They are advancing. All ships, Valth managed to say. Defensive formation. Prepare for combat. The Battle of Terra began. The human fleet did not fight like any enemy the collective had faced. They did not engage at long range. They did not maintain neat formations. They attacked like a swarm, like a pack, like hunters who had cornered dangerous prey and knew the only way out was through it. Human ships dove through the Zetherian formation, firing at point-blank range. They targeted engines and weapons, crippling rather than destroying. They communicated in rapid bursts, coordinating attacks with inhuman precision, and behind them, Earth's moon opened fire. The Luna base revealed thousands of concealed weapons. Mass drivers that had been built in secret over months of desperate work. Energy cannons powered by reactors buried deep in the moon's core. Missile batteries that could fire without atmospheric drag. The moon, humanity's oldest companion in space, had been turned into the largest fortress in the solar system. The Zetherian formation collapsed under the assault. Ships collided with each other trying to evade human attacks. Communication networks became overloaded with distress calls. The neat, organized collective fleet became a chaotic mess of damaged vessels and panicking crews. Commander Valth watched his tactical display with growing horror. They were losing. Not slowly, not honorably, but catastrophically. Human fighters were boarding his ships. Human marines, wearing armor painted with symbols from Earth's many nations, were cutting through his warriors like they were nothing. All ships, he ordered desperately. Break off. Return to formation. We need to regroup. But there was nowhere to regroup. Everywhere he looked, human ships were pressing the attack. And then something worse happened. New ships appeared on his sensors. Not human vessels. These were Kelrathi designs. Mordith cruisers. Ships from a dozen liberated species, all bearing hastily painted symbols of alliance. The coalition had arrived to help defend Earth. A transmission cut through the chaos. It was not from Earth, it was from Kelrath. Zetherian fleet, this is Commander Shess of the Free Kelrath Navy. You remember us. You enslaved us for 60 years. The humans reminded us how to fight. Now we are here to return the favor. For Kelrath. For freedom. For every species you have broken. The coalition fleet crashed into the Zetherian formation from the flank. They were not professional warriors. Their ships were old, their crews barely trained. But they fought with the desperation of people who knew that losing meant slavery forever. They fought the way humans had taught them. With anger, with determination, with the absolute refusal to surrender. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it finally ended, the Zetherian reinforcement fleet was destroyed. 2,000 ships were wrecked. 500 more were captured, their crews taken prisoner. 300 managed to escape, limping away with tales of defeat that would shake the collective to its core. Commander Valth did not escape. His ship was boarded by human marines. He stood in his command center, surrounded by dead crew members as the humans breached the door. The lead marine lowered his weapon and pulled off his helmet. He was young, barely 20, with brown skin and hard eyes. "Commander Valth," the human said, "I am Sergeant Chen. That is my mother who commanded the battle. She says you are too valuable to kill. You are going to stand trial." "Trial?" Valth's voice was hollow. "For what?" "For crimes against humanity, and crimes against every species your collective has enslaved. We are taking you to Earth. We are going to let every person you hurt testify about what you did, and then we are going to let the galaxy decide your fate." Valth looked at the young soldier. "You have won one battle. The collective will send more fleets, bigger armies. You cannot defeat an empire that has existed for 1,000 years." Sergeant Chen smiled. It was the same cold smile his mother had worn. "Commander, we already did. You just do not know it yet. While you were gathering ships to attack Earth, we were liberating 30 more worlds. While your reinforcements were traveling here, we were cutting your supply lines and arming resistance movements. Your empire is dying, Commander. It just has not fallen over yet." He gestured, and other Marines stepped forward to restrain Valth. "Welcome to Earth, Commander. I hope you enjoy your stay. It is going to be a long one." The aftermath of the battle was broadcast across every liberated world. Images of the Zetherian fleet in ruins, images of Commander Valth in chains, images of human and alien crews working together to repair damaged ships and rescue survivors. The message was clear. The collective could be beaten. The empire could fall. Freedom was possible. Rebellions erupted on 50 worlds. Zetherian garrisons found themselves under attack from populations they thought were broken. Supply convoys were ambushed. Administrative centers were destroyed. The collective's control began to unravel. On Earth, in the same bunker where the war had been planned, General Chen stood before representatives from 20 liberated species. They had come to Earth to see the world that started it all, to meet the humans who had refused to surrender. "Thank you for coming," Chen said. "We are gathered here to discuss what comes next. The collective is collapsing, but they still control hundreds of worlds. They still have thousands of ships. This war is not over." Shess spoke up from the Kelrathi delegation. "General, you have already done the impossible. You have given us hope. You have shown us how to fight. What more can be done?" Chen pulled up a star map. It showed the entire region of space the collective controlled. Red markers indicated collective garrisons. Blue markers showed liberated worlds. There was far more red than blue. "We keep going," Chen said simply. "We liberate every world. We free every species.